long blue arms.
The Loch Ness Monster.
From outer space.
Eddie just wants to massacre him.
Go on out there and kill them.
Wipe them out. All of them. To the very last man.
Violence. Brutality.
Trick-or-treaters are all dead. Isn't it beautiful? Take a walk in the cemetery. Get eaten up by cannibals.
Celebrate Halloween.
Love and kisses, Penny baby.
What do you think this is all about? You think this is a fucking costume? This is a way of life.
Hey, Ballbusters, Bates here with your friend and mine, Ray Mungus, and we're ready to talk some cons and drop some power bombs here on episode 57 of Way of Life Live. How are you doing after this weekend over there, Mungus?
Doing pretty good. Wondering where you got all your energy from out of nowhere, but next time share.
I took a little nap earlier.
That'll do it. Well, there it is.
It was wonderful. It really was. I don't know. I'm just... I did. I took like a 30, 45-minute nap. Not as long as my normal naps, but my normal naps are usually constitute like full sleep cycles. Like my normal nap is like a 4-hour nap. I'm like an old man.
You and I both, my friend. You and I both.
But I don't know. I really shouldn't be in a good mood dealing with just so much nonsense. But I'm trying to just focus on anything positive and not letting all the negative crap fucking wear me down.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's probably in your best interest just to like shut off all that for a little bit and really focus on, you know, what's important, what matters, like the topics tonight.
Yes, like car conventions in wrestling. That's what's important in life.
Exactly. Now you're thinking.
I won't even mention all the negative crap I'm dealing with at the moment because I don't want to put it into perspective and then diminish one side or the other. You know, who knows what is more important? So
I'm just saying, man, it would really put a damper on the entire thing tonight, and it'd probably be the quickest turnaround from good mood to bad mood. So I'd say stick on the path that you're going on.
I also had like a really good night of sleep last night, but I think that had to do with me drinking like 3/4 of a bottle of wine and passing out at like 8 or 8:30.
It's pretty funny that you mentioned that because recently I've been having some sleeping issues. Not so recently, like a couple weeks ago recently. And I've tried different types of medication to kind of put me out, and none of them seemed to work. And then they busted my chops at work, and they're like, "Why don't you just try a shot of whiskey?" And God damn it, that always works. Worked pretty well, actually.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm having trouble sleeping, I don't think there's any shame in going to a little alcohol or a lot of alcohol, whatever helps.
I guess that's why they call it a nightcap. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna adopt this whole nightcap thing, and then my brother goes, yeah, that's alcoholism. But hey, whatever works. Recently, I've been doing a lot better though without the alcohol, so no problems there.
Alcohol. It's only alcoholism if you go to meetings. It's only a problem if you attend a meeting.
Touche.
Otherwise, it's just a voracious hobby.
And speaking of the opposite of that, I tried one of those monster 300 milligram fucking caffeine things today. Did nothing for me. Dare I say the energy drink balls is more powerful.
Yeah, I don't know how much caffeine a balls has. I still have one. Maybe I'll save it for WrestleMania on Sunday.
That's not a terrible idea. I might have to track one down myself.
Yeah,
especially after the weekend I'm going to be having.
Oh yeah, because I finally found out that the parking lots are opening up at 11, and the event starts at 5:30. So if I know John, and we like to tailgate hard, we're probably going to be there between 11 and 12, setting up and tailgating.
I can't guarantee that I'm going to be awake around that time.
Oh, no, I wasn't expecting you guys. I wouldn't expect you guys to be there that early. Freaking Twisted Tea will go crazy. He'll be an antsy little freaking like jackrabbit.
Pretty much. And what's insane about that is we are going to like no less than three full wrestling events a day from Thursday on, and come Sunday, man, I'm not even going to be like, I don't even think I'm going to bring a chair. I might just bring a cot so I could fucking sleep in the parking lot.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you're not even going to be excited for WrestleMania. You're just going to be like, fuck, I hate wrestling and everything having to do with wrestling. And as you prepare to go sit in a chair for another 7 hours of wrestling.
I am so glad I took Monday off because honestly, I think I'm just going to be standing in my house. Like honestly, I think for the entire day of Monday, I'm just gonna stand at my desk. Like I don't want any part of sitting or wrestling or any of that after Sunday.
Well, I don't blame you there, but we're gonna get into some more wrestling talk later. That's gonna be a first for the show. We normally don't talk wrestling, but with WrestleMania fast approaching, and it being held literally 15 minutes down the road from my house, and us both attending, we thought it would be kind of cool to actually do a bit of a wrestling talk discussion, what we're looking forward to, what we're not looking forward to on the event. Because, believe it or not, only falling behind the Super Bowl, the World Cup, and I believe the Olympics, WrestleMania is like the fourth biggest event in terms of sporting. It is above fucking the World Series. So, it's sort of a big deal, and since we're going to it, and we are longtime fans of the sport, we thought it'd be kind of cool to do a bit of a discussion later. But that's later. We also, this weekend, we went to a new thing for us. We've never been to this particular thing before.
We've been to many things, but not this one.
Yeah, I mean, if I went back and I counted all my programs and stuff, I'm probably pushing just myself between 40 and 50, maybe more horror conventions, since I started going to horror conventions in 2003. And this past weekend, on Friday, we ventured all the way down to Atlantic City for a new convention. This was their second or third one, I believe, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not 100% sure, but I know there was at least one before.
And it was at a different venue, if I'm not mistaken.
Can't comment, but you know.
And what's really funny, I have a written recap that will be going up on deadentertainment.com in the next day or two. I just got to button it up. But what was funny was leading up to this convention, I was thinking, I wasn't wholly looking forward to it because I had confused it with another convention in Atlantic City. And I thought it was the same one. And I remember that was called Bizarre AC. And I remember hearing nothing but not awful things, but just no good things about it. It just wasn't a very popular convention. There wasn't a whole lot going on. There wasn't a whole lot of guests. There wasn't a whole lot of anything really. And it was a convention that died as fast as it came. And I thought that was the convention we were going to. Well, luckily it wasn't. What we attended is as I said, a very new convention called New Jersey HorrorCon. And new conventions are a weird thing. It's a weird foothold to kind of get your foot in, really. But as a long time convention goer, again, since 2003, I've been going to conventions since I was 16 years old. I've seen amazing conventions and I've seen dog shit conventions. I have to say, this was probably in my top 5 all-time best conventions I've ever been to. That's just right out the gate. That's my initial opinion.
Yeah, man, I totally agree with you on as far as things go with this particular convention. I could definitely see where you'd confuse the two, Bizarre AC and this one. But I want to jump back to that really quick. I know this is not the central point of the conversation, but I feel like Bizarre AC never really got a chance. I mean, the very first convention that they did was mildly successful, relatively new. Everybody has that one convention. And then the second one they did got hit with a massive snowstorm. I attended that one, and it was pretty great for what it was.
So did John. He went to that one too.
Yeah, but it was just so unfortunate because they had all this talent that had showed up the Thursday or Wednesday prior to that, and the storm just rocked New Jersey. And it was this weird situation where just travel conditions were terrible. You couldn't really go anywhere. And those that did, were kind of holed up in this Atlantic City hotel / convention center, trying to make the best of it, stars included. It was a massive downer kind of for everybody, but at the same time, it was everybody making the best of it, tried to really enjoy themselves. And, it became a little bit more personal with these stars. Unfortunately, that was kind of their death knell. And, things kind of went downhill from there. And in the ashes of that convention arose New Jersey HorrorCon. They're not associated, but it was a new convention that was able to take the territory, if you will, and kind of make something of it. And having heard of it previously, I've always been interested, but like a lot of things, when you're an adult, you're just kind of yeah, I'm definitely going to go to that. But, things fall through, life happens, and you just don't. And then this March, we were able to finally give it a shot, especially after Monster Mania kind of fell through on us, which was, these things are our vacation. We really enjoy going to them and spending time with everybody. It's like seeing old friends, even though we don't really know the stars or stuff like that. It's just one of those really cool situations. So with Monster Mania falling through, it was cool to jump in and check out this one. And initial impressions for me was, for a relatively young convention, they have a lot going for it. Just having so much life to it. It felt like a real living convention, if you will. Maybe that's weird to say, but it just had a lot of strength whereas relatively new conventions don't necessarily have that, or they're very disorganized, or, one area is lacking and the other is not, and vice versa. So, like coming right off the convention, I was just kind of blown away by how well oiled of a machine that was, just over the weekend.
Real quick, what was your favorite aspect of this particular convention?
That's a really good question. I think the layout, and that might sound really lame, but I like everything contained in one area. Like growing up attending flea markets, as thrilling as that may sound, it's you kind of it was kind of your one stop shop for anything. You just check out vendors, you get something to eat, you would do this and that, and in this particular case for the convention, you had pretty much everything on the floor. You enter the convention, you go to your left and grab some free coffee. You go straight, you see the Ghostbuster car. You go a little bit more, you can stop for a bite to eat. No big deal. You keep on moving. You got some photograph sets to take pictures at. You've got vendors pretty much carrying anything you possibly could want. And then a little bit beyond that, you had a slew of guests that you absolutely want to meet. So it was just everything was pretty much at your fingertips, with the exception of a panel room. And I think that's it, really. The panel room was the only thing separate from the main body of the convention. And that's convenient. And you and I talked about this over the weekend, about how, like, Chiller Theater, for example, has like a labyrinth of a maze to try to find any guests or vendors or anything that you want. It's just little tiny offshoots with a handful of people and everywhere. It's all one big contained area, and like I said earlier, one-stop shopping. How about you?
Yeah, no, the layout is definitely what really drew me in. And I'm sure people who are listening who have never gone to a horror convention are probably like, you mean the layout? How does that make sense? How is that your favorite thing about a convention? When you've been to as many conventions as us, and you see what good layouts look like, and you see what shit layouts look like, going back to Chiller Theater, you walk into Chiller Theater, and you're basically in a big hallway. And in that hallway are a bunch of vendors. Then on the other side of that hallway is a big ballroom, and that's where the bulk of the vendors are. And then you want to find the guest. Whoa, man, you better fucking know your way around that goddamn hotel. Because you got to go down that hallway, and then you got to go, then it branches off into about 6, 7 different hallways. And then within those hallways, there's 4 to 5 breakout rooms in each hallway. And they're all different rooms. There's the diamond room, and the cobalt room, and the calcium room, and fucking the Lucky Charms room. And in each room, there's anywhere from 2 to 7 guests. And there's probably about 30 of these fucking rooms. And in some of those rooms, there's also random vendors, because they didn't have enough room in the vendor room, so they stuck them in a guest room. It's just trying to find anybody. There's no semblance of organization. It's just, we're just going to fucking put people wherever we can. Monstermania.
I get that, man. I definitely get that, because sometimes, like, these places, they'll just go ahead and book up whatever's the cheapest type of venue or whatever might fill their needs within the area that they want to hold the event. And a lot of these conventions basically just make the best of their situation. Use any available space and try to make the best of it. But in terms of, like, this HorrorCon that took place at the old casino at the Showboat in Atlantic City, they did this kind of same thing, except they had a far, far better lay of the land than most conventions do.
Well, they had something going for them that other shows didn't have. So we were at the Showboat. The Showboat used to be a casino. Well, it is no longer a casino. So when you walk into the Showboat, you would normally see a casino floor. Well, it's just a big motherfucking floor now. A big-ass open floor. Huge. Just a massive rectangle that housed everything for this convention. There was no getting lost. You knew where the guests were. The guests were on the one side of the rectangle. You knew where the vendors were. They were on the other side of the rectangle. You knew where the photo op area was. You know where the Ghostbusters car was, and the Back to the Future car, and you knew where everything was because everything was contained in the same area, sans the panel area. So it made just getting around and navigating very easy. Plus, the best part about that is that, again, it was a casino floor, so it's huge. It's massive. They didn't even use, I would say, 3/4 of the space they could have. So they have room to grow. And they made 3 aisles within the main casino floor area. Aisle here, vendors and guests. Aisle here, vendors and guests on each side. Aisle here, vendors and guests on each side. So 3 massive aisles with plenty of room to walk around and maneuver. Anyone who's ever been to a big convention, I'm gonna use Monster Mania. That's the standard right now for conventions in terms of capacity and turnout and popularity. And you go to a Monster Mania lately, trying to just stop and look at a vendor table on a Saturday, which is the busy day, you're gonna get elbowed and jostled and butt fucked, and you're pretty much gonna feel like you're in a goddamn mosh pit at a fucking Lamb of God concert. You can't just sit there and look at a vendor's wares without fending and defending your life just because there is just a mass. It's like a fucking stampede, it's like a fucking zombie horde coming at you. This convention...
Sorry, man.
I was just going to say that this convention, each aisle had, I don't know, 30 feet of, walking space. I didn't walk into a single person at the busiest time on Saturday. There was more than enough room to maneuver. I wasn't even getting mad at some of the assholes with giant cosplay, because those people weren't in my way. It was just airy. I don't know how else to explain it. There were high ceilings. It wasn't getting hot or stuffy. It didn't smell like the fucking bathroom at the Starland Ballroom after a Slayer concert. It was airy. It was comfortable. It was to the point where I probably did 25 laps around that fucking show floor and was as happy as could be. I go to Monster Mania. If I do 2 or 3 laps around the show floor, I'm miserable. I just want to stab people.
Yeah, Monster Mania is a perfect example of a show that's kind of grown out of their location. And like you said before, the good thing about the NJ HorrorCon is that this has a lot of potential to grow. Will it be as successful as Monster Mania one day? Good possibility. Atlantic City I think they have a good deal with the place because the current place has no casino. It's a hotel casino without the casino. And the amount of space that's available to them, they could add so much more than they already have. And they have a lot going for it as it is. The only thing that I could see possibly stunting that growth is if the hotel decides to get a little bit greedy and start charging quite a bit more for the rooms. And from what I gather, the going rate for the rooms is relatively cheap and far cheaper than the Crown Plaza in which we attend the Monster Mania convention.
Yep.
So that's a really good thing going for it. And as long as that path keeps staying, I think the convention's going to have a very healthy future. Go on.
Yeah, no, it's got a ton of room to grow. There is so much floor space that they didn't touch at all at this convention. So, if they need more room in 5 years, it's already there. They don't have to look for a new venue. This venue is more than capable of expanding and fitting their needs down the line. The room rates were very, very reasonable. We're talking under $100 for Friday night and under $1.50 for a Saturday night. And again, this is in a gambling city. And any hotel with a casino in Atlantic City on a Saturday night is anywhere from $300 to $500. So the price point is right on point. Now, they do get you a little extra because you do have to pay to park. There is no free parking in this area, and it costs you about $20 a day if you park it yourself. So they do hit you up there, but it still somehow comes out cheaper than 2 nights for at the Crowne Plaza for Monster Mania.
I think that was one of the biggest problems for Bizarre AC, not to go back to that too long, but the prices of the hotel room were, like they had the convention area, but there was also a very, very active casino, and the prices were very standard Atlantic City. And I think that's another reason why any sort of event that tries to really come down there and make a home doesn't usually succeed. To quickly go back to the whole showroom floor and not a lot of not a lot of people like all over the place, like a horde of zombies. I think that's really good for like people's attitudes too. Like when you're walking uncomfortably in a crowd, just kind of shuffling along because that's
sweating like a pig.
Exactly. That's the way everybody's kind of moving, and you're not able to look at vendors or talk to vendors or talk to friends or anything like that. It makes for a miserable experience, and you don't really want to be down there in that situation until it kind of cools off, both literally and figuratively. And one thing I noticed about this con is the attendees were very, very cool. Just everybody had a very relaxed and laid back kind of chill attitude. And I think a lot has to do with the convention just having a little room to breathe. You're not up everybody's ass, and you're not slowly but surely getting angry at the person just standing there in your way staring at Funko Pops all day. It just had a much better vibe going for
it. Was a great atmosphere.
Yes, absolutely.
And it was great. I could walk around the show floor and I didn't have to worry about anyone bumping into me and spilling my beer, because that would have been a problem. And it wasn't an issue. There was just so much room to move, and you take that shit for granted when you've been to a convention where you're packed in like sardines. You don't get how good for your health that not being packed in like that is. So they have that going for it. And even if this convention grew, even if it doubled in size, I really believe that they would still be okay with their current layout. I still think there was more than enough room. Wouldn't be quite as airy, but you still wouldn't be on top of each other. I mean, again, at their busiest time on Saturday, which was pretty busy, you could walk with both your arms out and not bump into anybody. That's how much room each aisle had, and it was just wonderful. It really was. And if they doubled the amount of fans that attend at the next show, it may not be that airy, but it's still going to be comfortable. You're still not going to be bumping into people just because of how they had this particular show laid out. And it is definitely a wake-up call to some of the bigger shows that have outgrown their venues to maybe start looking for new venues.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree on that front too. Complaints. What kind of complaints do you have?
All right, so I only had 2 complaints. Complaint number 1 is during peak times, trying to get into the convention. The convention had 1 entrance but multiple exits. To get through the entrance, you had to go through security, which was 1 guy with a metal detector. And it pretty much, everybody funneled into the 1 entrance, and it bottlenecked because it was slow. It was 1 person. They need to find a better way to streamline that. I don't care how they do it. They need to get 2-3 people checking people at the security checkpoint. I get it. They're concerned about safety. I got no problem with that. Keeping the show safe is awesome. I respect that. But at the same time, you only have to do it at peak times. You only have to do it, when the show opens on a Friday or on peak times on Saturday. The rest of the times, I don't think it's really an issue. Get 2-3 people so you don't have this bottleneck. On Saturday, I waited 30 minutes to get into the show floor, and it sucked. Now, I didn't have to do that again the rest of the time. By that time, the peak time had died down, and either everybody was in the show or, it was enough of a trickle where the security guy could handle it. But that was one of my biggest complaints, is that they need to streamline peak hours a little bit better.
I think that could have been saved by having 2 additional entrances. That's one of my biggest complaints about it, was the fact that, like you said before, the show floor was massive. It was very, very long. And when you entered the lobby from outside, you kind of had to go to the other end of the building. And no, I'm not being lazy here. I have no problem going to the other end of the building. But when you have to do that every single time you want to jump into the convention, it's just like, okay, well, I'm all the way down here already. You have a guy standing at this exit. Give him a metal detector, or add a second guy there to do a metal detecting, and just let us be able to maybe go in at the front or maybe go in at the center. Like have multiple entrances, and I think that bottleneck would be solved rather quickly.
Yeah, well, I can understand them not wanting to have a big, massive line in the front by the lobby.
Oh, I agree, but once the show gets rolling, it's not that bad, and when you have people standing there already making sure you don't enter that way, why don't you just let them check a wristband? You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand it, but it also couldn't hurt.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm again, there are definitely ways to streamline it a little bit more and to make it a little bit easier to get in during peak times. The only other time I had to wait was Friday when I first got in, and that was about a 15-minute wait, which honestly wasn't that bad. And then the rest of the time, we pretty much just walked in.
Yeah, pretty much.
The other issue is they had this big, massive area for their panel area, but they didn't put it in the best spot. Right next to the panel area, and you guys will hear this when the Mick Garris panel in its entirety gets posted up on the channel in a day or two, you're going to hear all of this background noise in the video, and it's because there's an arcade literally right next to the panel area. And it's just separated by like a cubicle farm wall. So it doesn't go all the way up to the ceiling. It only goes up like 6-7 feet, and that's it. Then the rest of it is open, and then you got pinball machines, old arcade machines. You have fucking air hockey. Yeah, air hockey. And that's all you're hearing. You're hearing the people playing them. You're hearing, fucking the clink, 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 clink of the fucking air hockey table, and it's very distracting. Thankfully, my microphone on my camera didn't pick it up too much, but it is still very prominent and very distracting, especially when it's a great panel that you're invested in and you want to listen to what these people are saying, and you got a fucking you're battling a Miss Pac-Man machine and a fucking Galaga machine and a Jurassic Park pinball machine and a Star Wars pinball machine and 2 drunk assholes on an air hockey table. It's yeah, not very fun.
It's also detrimental to the guests too, because you could tell that they're trying to like just block it out and kind of do their best that they can, but you could tell that it's really distracting and they're losing their train of thought a little bit, and it's just like, okay, why don't we just shut the fucking arcade down for a little bit? What are you guys making? A couple, like maybe a couple $100 from these people playing these games? Like, shut it down for a little bit, or maybe do something a little bit better as far as, trying to block out the sound, or I don't know, their means to it. Again, it's one of those situations where they are making the best use of the space. But one thing could have solved that possibly is some of the photo op areas. One particular where we did the Night of the Demons photo op. That could have been the panel room. They could have put the photo ops over where the panel stage was, and they could have set it up in a different spot. It would have had a little bit of noise from the convention floor, but a little bit better than air hockey. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, there are ways they could have got around it, and hopefully they take that into consideration for the next show. The last problem I have again with the panels is that the host that was running the panels, while he was a good host, pretty verse with the guests he was talking to, he really hogged the microphone. The best part about these panels for the fans that go to them is the chance for them to ask, their favorite stars from these movies questions. And the one panel we attended, which was the Night of the Demons panel with Amelia Kincaid and Linnea Quigley, he hogged the microphone the entire panel. And when he goes, all right, we're going to open it up to guests, to, fan questions, one question. That is all they had time for, one question. And I thought that was it was sort of rude and kind of a letdown, It doesn't help that Amelia Kincaid just likes to fucking go on and on and on and on and on. I mean, woman can talk, man. But, you got to slate 20, 25 minutes for fan questions. There's no two ways around that. I mean, yeah, maybe you're a fan too. I get it. You want to ask some questions. That's fine. All good hosts do have a couple of great questions lined up. But all great hosts also give fans a chance to ask questions at these panels. They're called Q&A panels for a reason. Now, it wasn't an issue with the Mick Garris panels because those were the final panels on Friday and Saturday night, and they weren't pressed for time. What happened with this show is that on Saturday, and even Friday, they crammed so many panels together that, and a lot of them were only about 45-minute panels. Every panel we've ever been to at Monster Mania is at least an hour, if not longer. This show was condensing them to 45-minute panels, and it's just not enough time. Or maybe they've got to cut down on these panels next time. I mean, some of the panels, I don't even feel like they were worth it. I don't have my program with me. I would look up to see what some of the panels I thought they could have cut out were, but and they did panels even on Sunday. And Monster Mania doesn't do panels on Sunday. They do an auction every convention on Sunday. That's all they do. So this show had probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, probably 15 to 20 panels.
It's quite a bit.
Yeah, it was fucking a lot. And what they need to do is knock down like 5 of those panels, especially a couple on Saturday, and then stretch the rest out to an hour and slate a half an hour just for fan Q&A. Because, I mean, I don't always have a question. Sometimes I do, but I don't always. But I do sometimes like listening to the fans ask questions. Some of them ask really great questions. Some of them are certified assholes and need to be punched and thrown out of the convention.
I can't
some of them ask questions that are either wholly inappropriate or just they're just looking to troll and bait the guest. We've seen it happen before. But a lot of the times, these fans ask some really good questions. You'll see again on when the Mick Garris panel that I recorded goes up on the channel. There's some great questions. I even asked a question, and again, I don't ask very many questions at these panels. But when I feel like I have a really good question that I've never heard an answer to, I ask. And yeah, it was just sort of a letdown to see the fans get shafted, at least in the one panel we went to. One question was allowed to be asked, and then we ran out of time. So they need to tweak the way the panels work, as well as finding a way to combat the arcade noises.
I pretty much agree with you on a few things. I didn't mind the moderator too much, but he needed to be a little bit more of a moderator than, say, just like a interview / biographer. I do like that he researched pretty much everything that we've seen him conduct. And, that's really good for kind of inspiring potentially great questions, because a lot of these people you talk to, they acted in a lot of things, they directed a lot of things, written a lot of things, and sometimes you sit there and listen to an entire panel and listen to the history of the person that they're talking to, and you're just like, wow, I recall them having such a like storied career. So like you don't necessarily automatically associate them with a couple projects that they've done, and you're just like, shit, I've always wanted to know this, I've always wanted to know that. But when you don't have the opportunity to take that inspiration and ask a question for yourself, it's kind of a letdown. It's and it's a situation where a lot of these people will travel far and wide to be able to ask these questions, and it's kind of a disappointment. One thing that I will like oppose you on, though, is that I've noticed that Monster Mania has been cutting down on a lot of their, I guess, like their main attraction panels. Like, you'll get a very good reunion of cast members and a director, and then you'll look at their program on Saturday night, and they will not have a panel. And you're just like, you have them all in one space. Why don't you let them talk for an hour? And a lot of the time, it has to do with the stars not wanting to do it. This convention, I feel, kind of like went with that foot forward and made sure that they had the panels, agreed upon, beforehand, so that people could have somewhere to go and kind of get their own little commentary on their careers of these people, and I think that's very important, because so many stories from these movies and actors and directors are told at these places. Like, movies don't all have commentary tracks anymore, and interviews aren't always as in depth. So you find out a lot of history and behind the scenes information that's, it's shit that us geeks live for. With less panels, I think that's, it's taking away from that to some degree. But I do see what you're saying about how they're crammed, and they could use a little bit more time as far as the length goes. And again, it's a relatively new convention, and I think they're getting their footing on all this. And
it's growing pains.
Yeah, exactly.
It's growing pains.
It's gonna eventually iron itself out. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not taking points away from them or anything. It didn't ruin my weekend in any sense of the word. It's just growing pains. When you're a new convention, you gotta, there are some things you gotta figure out for yourself, and this just happened to be one of them. But I think they'll figure it out at some point, and they'll get it right. Just gonna take some time. It might take another 2 or 3 shows before they figure it out, but they will. So a big part of these shows are the vendors. Vendors are more or less the lifeblood of these conventions. I, for the most part, go to these conventions almost entirely for the vendors. And being to so many of these shows, I know, in terms of, I've seen most of these vendors at least once, if not dozens of times before. So you don't always get to see new things, and a lot of the vendors do sell the same things. Now the big thing are fucking Funko Pops, and I just want to burn down any vendor who sells primarily Funkos. They're awful. There was one vendor there who had almost an entire wall covered in Funkos, and I just wanted to burn it down. Just wanted to go Seth Rollins on them and burn it down. But I didn't. But what was great about this show is it was a different show, a different location, brought out different vendors I've never seen before. And it was pretty cool. Now, a lot of these vendors I didn't see before, they do sell similar things to other vendors I know. But it's still cool browsing a different vendor's wares. I'm a big statue collector. I love high quality statues, mainly Marvel pieces. I don't buy too many horror pieces anymore. I'm not even sure why. I used to be really big into buying the horror pieces, but I don't know. It's just the Marvel pieces really tend to go up in value quite well, and I love the way they display. They display so nice. So thankfully, in the last couple of years, these horror conventions have really begun catering to us comic book fans, and I'm able to pick up, 1, 2, 3, sometimes 4 great quality Marvel statues. And this show was no different. I found a couple, grabbed them from a new vendor too. Vendor I've never seen before. He was actually a super awesome guy. Gave me a great deal. Hopefully I run into him again in the future, because he was really easy to work with. Offered good prices just right off the bat, and then even worked with his prices just to make the sale. So he was great. I hope to see him again. And then these vendors, they sell all kinds of things, whether it's a vendor selling figures and statues and toys and stuff, or shirts, or dead animal bones and skulls. There's always a couple of weapon vendors, which is weird when you think about it, because they were checking people for weapons, yet they were allowing weapons to be sold on the show floor. I don't know. Weird. What else? There are people selling homemade, horror jewelry, and there's booths that do custom makeup right there on the spot. You can pay to get some prosthetics and shit applied to your face. There's one vendor who's there at every convention, and they'll make you custom fangs. That's your thing. I don't know. Some people's things, not my thing. But they seem to do a good business. They bring people in every year. I mean, there's a vendor for literally everything. There's always... What the fuck's my wife doing? Like, she's making a juice or something up there. Sounds like a fucking jackhammer. There's vendors selling shirts and DVDs and Blu-rays and all kinds of stuff. So there's a little bit of everything, and it's great. It's really the lifeblood of these shows. After fans get there. I mean, what's your take on the vendors?
I liked it simply because they had a very refreshing sort of vibe. Basically, I mean, like, you didn't see the same old faces, and a lot of that is because, once again, Monster Mania, they kind of keep it close in the family. They basically offer every vendor a chance to renew their table for the next show. So most of the vendors accept, and 9 times out of 10, they bring either a handful of things that are new, but mostly the same stock. And you see the same faces for a decade and the same wares. You're just kind of like, oh, just give me something new for once. In this particular case, you pretty much went over everything that, could be possibly sold. But one thing I really enjoyed in this particular convention was that there seemed to be a lot of podcasters, like, taking up a vendor slot and just kind of hanging out, streaming straight from the convention. And what was weird about it is, if you've ever been to a horror convention and you see anybody doing something independently, whether it be a book or a film, 9 times out of 10, they get less love than Kincaid does, which he doesn't get much love, only a little bit here and there. But
they got a little love this show, a little love.
But they usually don't get a lot of attention from congoers, and it's usually because they're trying to sell something to somebody, and there's some interest, but it's never there. Podcasters, for whatever reason, they had like a little bit of a party atmosphere going around, which I thought was really interesting. You had people playing music, you've had them broadcasting, giving away free shit, people hanging around the table just listening to it, 2 assholes talk, kind of like what we're doing right now. And I thought it was really, really neat, and something that I possibly want to explore at a future convention for us, and what we do. Removing myself from like the idea of doing it ourselves, I just think it added a little bit of a more interactive kind of situation with fans. Like, fans could go up and it's almost like a radio radio stations that are hanging out, giving out free swag, you know, and it adds a little bit something different than what we were used to. As far as everything went, vendor wise, you know, what was offered, it's pretty much a lot of the same things that you could pretty much come to expect, but a lot more unique, a lot more interesting faces and things that are on the table. And overall, everybody was pretty chill to talk with. You know, a lot of great folks that are vending there, and I mean, you really can't go wrong when you have, you know, variety and good people.
Yeah, and another thing, what was pretty cool is we ran into the filmmaker who made Theater of Terror, a little indie movie out of New Jersey that I reviewed for the website. He was a very cool guy, very nice guy, and he was someone I was looking forward to meeting. Since he had reached out to me to review his film, which I pretty much enjoyed. You can find that review on deadentertainment.com. Just look up Theater of Terror. It's a cool little indie horror anthology, very much in the same vein as you know, your old school Twilight Zone and Outer Limits and shit like that. Very cool. But we got a chance to meet him, and there were a lot of indie filmmakers at this show, more than I typically see at Monster Mania too. I mean, you had the Friday 13th Vengeance guys, you had the His Name Was Jason guys. There was 2 or 3 others on top of, you know, Tom with Theater of Terror, but it was definitely more than I normally saw.
Yeah, and even those tables were pretty interactive. You know, like I said before, a lot of those don't often get a lot of attention, but in this particular case, they had props on display, posters to autograph, and photos and things like that. You know, the His Name Was Jason table was especially interesting to me because the guy is setting out to make a film that bridges the gap of Friday the 13th Part 1 and Part 2, you know, just for the pure love of the franchise and, you know, to kind of tell further along the story while this whole crazy legal battle ensues. So to go up to the table and hear his pitch of something that we'll probably never see officially, you know, it's cool to begin with, number one, and number two, to go and check out his ideas and physically see, you know, the sackhead Jason mask that he had specifically designed for this short film. See the makeup that's inspired by Tom Savini's work, and, you know, the props and killing elements and pretty much all this stuff. Like, it was way more impressive than a lot of other people do usually. And of course, Friday the 13th Vengeance, you know, it needs no introduction. Everybody on the internet who's a Friday the 13th fan already knows about it. They had the guys there for that, signing stuff, you know, taking photos. I believe they were supposed to appear in costume, but every time I was down there, the dude was pretty much normal. So I really don't know if it was just one thing at one point in time during the weekend, or if it was, you know, something that got nixed. But a lot of interesting fan films and indie filmmakers, and, you know, the bigger conventions don't usually, you know, they don't normally have the opportunities that they could at something low key like this. You know, something that's a little more fan oriented and people that would, you know, something that people would embrace a little bit more.
Yeah, well, this show was also kind of unique in that it kind of catered and welcomed the indie filmmaker. Throughout the entire weekend, in this little offshoot area from the main vendor floor, as soon as you go into the main vendor floor, you had immediate access to this area. There was a screening area, probably about 40, 50 seats, screen, and I don't know, 60, 70, 80 short films by indie guys, and they were all being displayed free. You know, you bought your ticket, you got access to it, and all weekend long, you had a short film being shown in this room. So this particular convention billed itself as horror convention and film festival, and it did. Now, we didn't actually go in and see any of these films. I don't know why.
That's the one regret that I have. Like, I kind of wanted to do that, but I think you and I and our good buddy Twisted Tea were kind of a little wide-eyed for the most part, checking everything out and exploring. And then the next day we were either really hangry or kind of trying to get from point A to point B with our kind of unforgiving schedule.
Well, yeah, you had the unforgiving schedule, which leads us into the final topic for the convention talk here, and that's the guest. Now, vendors, I do believe, are the lifeblood of conventions. When fans get there, they flock to the vendors, man. They want to... I mean, me personally, when I go to Monster Mania, there's two vendors I hit immediately. There's one vendor who always sells top quality Marvel pieces that I typically buy from him, and then I go to my buddies over at Gray Matter Art. Always got to go see Mike and Jared and browse through the posters and see if there's something I don't own yet, because I own like half of their shit. But that's like the most exciting part for me when I get into the show floor, is going to see my favorite vendors. But what brings fans to the show are the guests that they get. And this show, again, newer show, but it managed to land a couple of guests that surprised me. Now, no guests that I desperately needed to meet, but guests that I respect, and guests that will definitely bring in fans. Leah Thompson being one of them, who I have to say, I'm not entirely sure this woman ages at the same rate as every other woman in the world. I think she ages half the rate, because she looked amazing. Tom Wilson, another Back to the Future alumni. He played Biff. It's another, name that you don't see at conventions too often. And I've heard, I didn't go up and meet him, but I've heard he's actually like super nice. The almighty Joe Bob Briggs, who is enjoying quite a resurrection to his career. Again, didn't meet him. As important as he was to me growing up, I know he's sort of a little awkward when you meet him. Mungus met him, and he sort of confirmed that. He's a little spacey, super nice, but a little out there, a little slow.
Yeah, I will say that he would not stop smiling. I mean, that's the one takeaway from him. I when you watch him live, you're just kind of like, wow, this guy's got a razor sharp wit. I can't wait to like have a conversation with him. But he's an older man, he's been signing autographs and talking to people all weekend, so I could definitely see where the tiredness might have set in. Maybe he's just like in one of those moods. But the takeaway is the guy loves his fans. He loves to meet his fans, and I thought that was really, really awesome.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. Then, as far as other big, Ernie Hudson, but Ernie Hudson does a lot of conventions, and there were a couple big name wrestlers there, Chris Jericho, Jake the Snake, who I saw once, and then we could never find his table. I saw him in the hallway. He walked by me, and I got to say hi, and I told him how proud I was of him for everything he's accomplished in conquering his demons. And he said thank you, and that was it. That was the last time I saw him. I never saw him again. I don't know what happened. Maybe I should have. Maybe I should have too. Well, we didn't look in the bar.
Don't you even say that.
Who else? What were some of the other bigger names there?
Zach Galligan was there.
I'm trying to think of who had big lines, but even like the bigger name guests didn't have massive lines, which was another great thing. You didn't have to wait an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to meet some of these people. It was fucking, maybe at most 20, 30 minutes, depending on how chatty they were. They had Vinny Appice, who's a Black Sabbath drummer, drummed for Dio and stuff. He looks like a ghoul now, and I didn't actually see anybody at his table.
Sorry, go on.
I was gonna say, as big as a Black Sabbath and Dio fan was, I didn't even have an interest in meeting him. I am such a bad fan.
You really are. One person that I thought had quite a line was the guy that played Art the Clown. That's his name.
David Howard Thornton.
Yes. He seemed to be, enjoying quite a line throughout the weekend. Ernie Hudson, his line was all hopping for the most part, and I will say this, having taken a photo up with him and briefly meeting him, I'm convinced that if you look up the word humble in the dictionary, his picture is next to it, because he's like one of the nicest, most appreciative dudes I've ever met. Very, very cool. Let's see. I'm looking at the list now. But overall, I will say that like most of the guests didn't have a crazy line. The Night of the Demons women that were there, Amelia Kincaid and Linnea Quigley, their lines are always going to be relatively hopping. Adrienne Barbeau, she had quite a line throughout the weekend, but not unmanageable. That was a really great thing about it.
It was steady. It was like at all times, anytime I walk by, probably 5-6 people deep at all times.
Absolutely. And, same with Felissa Rose and Tiffany Shepis too.
And just to go back to Adrienne Barbeau, go back to Billy for a second. Billy is, you see her in a lot of movies, and you're like, man, I don't know how she's gonna be in real life. When I say she is a sweetheart in real life, oh my God, like. You see her in Creepshow, she is the complete opposite in real life. She loves her fans so much. I mean, the only other person I can think of who is like just as sweet as her had to be Linda Blair when I met Linda Blair. Linda Blair is just like an absolute treasure to me. It's so nice. And when you have guests like that who make meeting them an experience in itself, it elevates a convention. So sometimes it's worth it to get certain guests rather than other guests. No, if you happen to know what kind of personality these guests have. And then the one person who I did want to meet, but I only wanted to meet her because I had just such a massive crush on her, and if I met her, I might have ended up in jail for one reason or another, was Shannon Elizabeth, who played Nadia from American Pie. And no lie, she somehow is de-aging. She looks younger now than when she was in American Pie. I don't know how, but I was thoroughly impressed with just how beautiful this woman still was. Absolutely beautiful.
And comment on that real quick. I actually looked that up the other day, how old she was, because I know you and I were talking about that, and she is 45.
Yeah, well, she looks like she's in her mid-20s.
Absolutely.
I don't know if she just had like 3 pounds of makeup on or what, but good fucking Lord, man. We were getting our pictures from the Night of the Demons photo op. We were waiting for them to be printed out. And I happened to turn around and I saw we were right next to her table, and I'm looking at her and I'm just like my jaw was on the ground, just how unbelievably gorgeous this woman still is. She has not aged a day. Fucking hate her.
Total vampire, just saying.
But yeah, so the guests are always a big thing at these shows, but you see, they're not as big a thing for us anymore. We've been going to these shows for so long, and we've met so many of these guests. And I dive into this in my written review, but meeting guests is not easy anymore, and it's not easy because our wallets aren't heavy enough to handle meeting these guests. Back when we started going to shows, half the guests you met, free autograph. The most you'd spend on an autograph, Back in the mid-2000s, $20. And that usually came with a picture, too, if you wanted. Now, $20, you're lucky to find a guest who charges $20 for an autograph. And most of the time, that won't come with a picture. You, for the most part, are better be prepared to spend anywhere from $30 to $50 for an autograph. It's just the way it is. And fans don't know any better now because a lot of these fans are new to conventions. And they don't bat an eye at a $50 autograph. You know, harder for us because we know better. We came from a way different convention time, and it's hard. It's hard for us, especially me. It's hard for me to drop $50, $60, $70 on an autograph. Now, have I done it before? Yes, but I've only done it for people that I absolutely have to meet and I have to talk to. I'm trying to think, like the last two autographs I remember getting. Probably Ted White, who played Jason Friday the 13th Part 4. I got his autograph right on my mask, right next to Richard Brooker. But I think he was only $30 or $40. He wasn't that expensive. And one of my all-time favorite actresses, Zoe Bell. This is like the last two autographs I can remember. And I had to get Zoe Bell because I willed her to that convention. It was I'm the reason why she was at the convention, despite what Dave might say. I willed her there. And, you know, it's just when there's somebody you absolutely have to meet, sometimes, you know, it's okay dropping $50, $60 to meet them. It's you still find it worth it. You still have, because it's a memory you will remember and you cherish. August, I plan on meeting at least 2 people, and that's a lot for me to do at one convention. But there are 2 actors going who I absolutely adore, and I'm already prepared to spend anywhere from $120 to $150 meeting them.
Well said. You know, I can pretty much echo exactly what you just said as far as autograph costs go. My very first autograph, well, the cheapest autograph that I have ever paid for was Kane Hodder back in like 2003, 2004, somewhere around that time. And it was $5. You know, nowadays you hear $150 for an autograph for certain people. I just shocked Bates over the weekend when I told him that I heard Hulk Hogan charges $300 for a signature, which is insanity. So, you know, times they are a-changing, unfortunately, and sometimes you really have to plan everything out as far as autographs go and make sure that you have a really solid, a solid game plan and a pocket full of money, or, you know, something that's a little more stingy. You know, you have to have a little bit of self-control when it comes to certain guests, and, you know, it's all about balance.
You got to sometimes, you know, the best way, I tell people who are new to conventions, yeah, $300, man. What you gonna do when Hulkamania goes bankrupt on you? You know,
or bankrupt to you, rather.
Yeah, seriously. What I tell newcomers to conventions, you know, you got to go into some of these conventions like you're going into a casino. You have to know that you're not leaving with that money in your pocket. So you need to set your limit before you go in, and you need to make sure that's all you have with you. So, you know, $200-$300, honestly, if you're going to meet guests, it's not going to get you very far anymore. Now, $200-$300 for me goes very far, because I just stick at the vendor tables, man. But come Monster Mania in August, I'm probably going to bring about $500. You know, I plan on meeting James Hong. And I'm expecting at least $60 for James Hong, and I'm gonna meet Foggy. There's no 2 ways around it. I'm probably going to find a nice Daredevil print, and I'm gonna have Foggy sign it. And again, I'm expecting another $60 autograph there.
I love that you renamed him Foggy. Like,
oh, he's Foggy.
He's always Foggy.
Oh no, he's Foggy. He's Foggy. Yeah, and I think he would probably much prefer signing a poster or a print rather than an avocado, which was my original idea.
You know what's really funny about that? I jumped on eBay to see if I could find a toy avocado, but like the cheapest price was like $16. So I don't know. I'm gonna keep looking for you.
Maybe I'll print out that little avocado picture we found a long time ago.
Yes, that was awesome.
maybe I'll get him to sign like a real piece and then just see if he'll just like initial that piece for me, because I don't know. I always love that piece. It's cute.
Agreed.
But yeah. So this is perfect advice to you, Stefan. Well, you don't worry about beer so much because we stock up the room beforehand, so we don't buy alcohol at the convention. We go to the convention with alcohol. We bring vodka, we bring rum, we bring beer. But I'd say the weekend we go down together, just put a certain amount of money in your wallet and just leave it at that, man. I would say $200-$300. Unless you have a guest you want to meet, then allot yourself at least another $50 just to meet that guest. All I'm gonna say, it almost is worse than a casino. I've seen plenty of fans walking around and they go up to a table and they want to buy something, or they go up to a guest and they want to get their autograph, and then they see the prices, and then 20 minutes later I walk by and I see that fucking person at the ATM.
Oh yeah, but the good thing is you have got two very, very seasoned guides to make sure that you stay in check, or at least we keep you from that ATM for just a little bit.
Yeah, well, let's be honest. That ATM doesn't live more than a day anyway.
No, it really doesn't, especially when we're those assholes at the ATM.
I never use that ATM. I think I've used it once in like a pinch I had to.
I was tempted simply because like I hit like a reunion set of autographs, and I'm like, fuck, I just found some shit that I want in the vendor room. Should I do it?
Yeah, I know. I bypassed, I passed by rather a nice Marvel Bowen statue at NJ HorrorCon. It was pricey, but when I looked up prices of other places carrying it, it was actually a really good deal. But I'm not overly mad that I decided not to spend $300 on it. So
exactly.
I got two other pieces that I'm very happy with. So
exactly, you walked away with some good shit. I will say that.
But so yes, to put a cap on convention talk before we move into some wrestling talk, because we went very long. I'm actually surprised we went as long as we did.
Way longer than I expected. I was like, well, tonight's episode's going to be a little short tonight.
So NJ HorrorCon, good job. It was a great show. Their next show is in October. I do not know if I will be making that one. Going to a show in August and then going to another show in October, may have to pass that one up. Because at that time, obviously, the child shall be here, and I don't want to leave Tao alone, 2 weekends in a couple months with the kid. Not fair to her.
Totally understandable.
So she's already okay. She already knows about August. She knows how important that is to me, and that is all good. We are all set for August, and I think that's going to be enough. I think we're going to have enough of a good time in August where I'll be able to still cruise that high come October. But NJ HorrorCon, good job. The show was fantastic. You guys should be very proud of yourself. You have a couple areas that need tweaking. Otherwise, you got a really good thing on your hands, and I wish you the best of luck to future shows and future growth. And here's to hopefully us maybe at one point getting our own table down there and doing some live podcast from the show floor.
Could be fun.
All right, so You can check out my written review of the show going up in a day or two on the site. And yeah.
Of course, the pound, too.
But now we're going to get into something a little bit different, something we never talk about on Way of Life Live here. And that is wrestling. Wrestling is big. Wrestling is a big, it's like an empire, really. And when you're talking about wrestling, you are talking about the WWE. And we are discussing wrestling because Sunday is the biggest wrestling event of the year, Wrestlemania 35. And we are both attending this show. And it is an event. This show starts at 5:30, and it is not going to end probably until closer to midnight.
God save us all.
Stefan says he saw the Last Week Tonight on WWE. Yeah, I saw that too, and it is spot on what Oliver was saying, man. If you have not seen that, Mungus, check that out. It's like a 25-minute talk on WWE and why wrestling is great, but why it's got a lot of problems.
I actually have it bookmarked. I've been really wanting to check it out, but I've been busy the last day or so. But no, it's a problem. The main topic's healthcare, right? I believe.
Yeah, he touches on a couple of topics like that.
Yeah. So it's very important. I'm definitely gonna check that out and probably share it too. But yeah.
So we are both going to Wrestlemania. As I said, a very big event. It is like the fourth biggest event in terms of sporting events, like in the world, behind the Olympics, the World Cup, and the Super Bowl. So, I've been a wrestling fan. Fucking holding a bottle of wine, and my wife brought me down the rest of my wine. She comes to the top of the steps and just hands me my bottle of wine before. I have a good wife. She brings me booze. We've been wrestling fans since we were kids. Wrestling has always been big in this area, and we grew up in the 90s, and the 90s was the heyday of wrestling, man. Fucking Attitude Era, and even before Attitude Era, you had Hogan, you had Macho Man, you had Warrior, you had Undertaker, you still fucking technically have Undertaker. My fucking guy needs to goddamn retire at this point. You had Honky Tonk Man. You had fucking Jake the Snake Roberts. You had Piper. You had Dusty. You had icons. Pure icons. And that's where we got into wrestling. And that's how we grew up into wrestling. And I'll tell you, man, that is probably the best era of wrestling to get into. And that has carried us well into adulthood. Well into our 30s. We are still maybe not as passionate because wrestling, there's a lot of politics behind wrestling, and the biggest problem in that sense is that pure in-ring talent gets buried in lieu of either pet projects or personal favorites of Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon will always push the big, muscle-bound, jacked-up twat who doesn't get the good crowd reactions, maybe doesn't have good mic skills, being able to talk on a microphone, fucking important in wrestling, man. And who don't have the in-ring abilities, but they have the looks that Vince likes. And then these people get pushes, and the fans revolt, man. And that's my biggest problem with wrestling today, is that the talent doesn't always get pushed unless the fans truly backlash. I think fans backlashing is what initially got Daniel Bryan his first major push. Fan backlash, I believe, is also playing a part as to why Kofi Kingston finally is getting his push. And I couldn't be happier and prouder for both of those guys. They've come very long ways in their career. They are some of the best in-ring performers you will ever see. They're both fantastic on the microphone, and they're just great entertainers from top to bottom. And to see them both in a title match at WrestleMania is a dream come true for a fan of talent. What's your take on everything? And
You there?
oh, I'm here.
Okay, my Discord cut out for a second there. Obviously, WrestleMania. What's my take on the week?
Yeah, I mean, I was talking about, how obviously we grew up in the 90s, and that was like a heyday of wrestling. That was a great time to get into wrestling, walking into Hulkamania and, Ultimate Warrior and Piper, Dusty Rhodes, all Bret the Hitman Hart, all these fantastic wrestlers. That's what we grew up. That's how we got into it. We came into it at probably the best time wrestling has ever had.
Yeah, and some of the best characters too, and I think that's what really drew me into the whole industry is the fact that they had these fantastic athletic performers, larger life personalities putting on these characters that you just continued to want to follow. And it was a weekly thing. It was very episodic. You had to tune in the following week to see with what feud the next person's going to be in, or how they were going to react to something that was said in the what weeks previously. And for the most part, it hasn't really changed as far as that's concerned. A lot of modern day characters has kind of like gone the wayside for, just generically written, performers, like with very, very minimal, type of personalities. But then you get the ones that really, really break through these days. But going back to the 90s, the sky was the limit for your imagination, and even discovering things from the 80s was really fantastic. Being still a kid and still enjoying toys. Then again, I still do now, but in any case, you were in that position where you could continue those stories with those characters with your fucking Hasbro action figures, or those old school ones that had they're kind of like these giant like rubber wrestling figures that they released back in the day. I remember having like a Ric Flair one, but it was always really, really something to keep your imagination going week after week. And nowadays people call it the man soap operas or something along those lines. And who cares, because these things are kind of just, it's like any other story. It doesn't really matter, regardless if it's pre-written, predetermined. The thing that I like about it nowadays, though, is watching talent that I find and watch and enjoy on the independent wrestling scene kind of go from years and years of hard work and blossom into something truly fantastic. Seeing CM Punk in a shitty little skate center wrestling for Ring of Honor back in the day, to watching him become one of the longest reigning WWE champions was, you don't get to really see that kind of performance. You don't really get to see those kind of progressions, going over the years. So to watch these guys kind of like come into their own and really take the industry is just something that, I've still really, really enjoy. And if it all started back from when we were young and able to kind of like suspend disbelief and really believe in these stars. And it may be goofy or frowned upon to like wrestling as an adult or whatnot, or maybe we're even kind of cast aside as losers or whatever you want to call it. But the fact of the matter is it's just another entertainment medium. It's just another escape, something that we enjoy, we were raised on, and just it all encapsulates to the point. It's something that you've been enjoying your entire life, and finally you're able to kind of see it at the top, at the pinnacle, which obviously is what we're going to this weekend. So it's very, very cool that you know, like, it's something that started at point A, and here we are still going strong, you know?
Yeah, it's you know, a lot of adults do catch flack for, you know, liking wrestling, but I mean, fucking, I don't know. I fucking come down to my fucking come down to my fucking studio and you know, just take a look at my walls. I'm a big fucking kid, man. I got Marvel characters all over my walls, Marvel characters on my shelf. I'm a fucking kid. All right, deal with it. You don't like wrestling? That's fine. A lot of people don't like wrestling, but you know what? A lot of fucking people do. And you know, I'm not as big a wrestling fan as I used to be. Again, a lot of it because of the politics. There's a lot of fluff in wrestling, and a lot of talent does not get the recognition they deserve. One of my all-time favorite wrestlers, Santino Marella. Love Santino Marella. I loved his character, despite him not being able to actually broadcast his skills. Man was a very talented in-ring wrestler, very technical wrestler. Vince never allowed him to shine in that capacity. He was a comic relief character. And, you know, wrestling does need that. But, you know, maybe give that role to the less talented in-ring performers. You know, Santino, I always thought deserved better. Now, he had some great intercontinental title runs. And I believe he had a couple of pretty good tag team title runs, but I always thought he deserved more. And I mean, that's just one example. You know, so as far as the card going into Sunday, let's make that the main topic right here and kind of discuss that. So let's look that up. Let's see what we're dealing with the WrestleMania 35 card. It's pretty much set in stone at this point. So let's see what we got here.
The longest card ever is what we got here.
All right, so we're going to start at the bottom here. So we have the Women's Battle Royal. Does this Battle Royal mean anything? No. Is it a way to get the rest of the female roster on the WrestleMania 35 card so they get their payday? Yes, which is great, but it does not broadcast any skills. It's not a match anyone looks forward to. Mainly because there are a lot of wrestlers here that definitely deserve main card. You know, good matches. Naomi, I love Naomi. I think Naomi is one of the most talented women on this roster, and she has been, brought down to this stupid battle royal. My biggest complaint, and a reason why I nearly fucking sold my ticket to WrestleMania, is Asuka. Asuka is my favorite competitor and athlete and performer in this company. I absolutely adore Asuka. She doesn't speak very good English, but she makes her limited mic time work better than some of the best mic workers ever in the company. With her couple of words, or even the way she delivers a promo in Japanese. It's fucking entrancing, man. It's beautiful. But she, a week ago, got shafted really hard because Vince McMahon is a out of touch, out of sight, fucking just overall douchebag. And he buried her hard 2 weeks out from fucking WrestleMania. And instead of having probably a meaningless title defense match, she has now been thrown into the stupid women's battle royal, which she probably won't win. And I'm not even mad about that. I'm just mad that she's fucking in this to begin with. Thoughts?
All right, so the Battle Royal, I don't know exactly who's in it right this second. It's not right in front of me, but I will say this.
Asuka, Carmella, Naomi, Lana, Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, Nikki Cross, Dana Brooke, Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, Sarah Logan, Mickie James, and Zelina Vega.
I immediately regret saying that. No, I'm just kidding. The thing about the Battle Royal that I really like is the potential of the women kind of like using their opportunity and the stage to really show their talents. And since this whole women's revolution thing has kind of like, started up, they've been really pushing the limits as far as what they're capable of doing, talent wise. And not to say that they were never incapable of doing it; they just were held back from showing off what they can do. It's going to be a little bit better than the big giant mashup that you might expect a match of that caliber to have. Like a lot of people, it's very chaotic, and it's generally just people beating each other up and craziness. But once some of those people clear out of the ring, I think the top performers are really going to show us what they're made of. And I think that's the important takeaway, despite the match being kind of meaningless, having no real point other than to showcase talent. So I'm hopeful that the strong individuals in the match that are going to be left in the ring as the whole battle royal commences are really, really, I guess, ready to show off what they're made of. That's the important thing.
Yeah. Well, listen, this will probably be one of the first matches on the card, and is what it is. I hope it's not the first match, because I don't know if we're going to be in the gates for the first match. But when I had bought my ticket to WrestleMania and leading up into it, most exciting thing I was waiting for, I couldn't wait for it, was seeing my girl, my Empress, Asuka, walk into WrestleMania as champion. I'm not going to be able to see that now. So I'm going to have to make do for a shortened entrance into a battle royal. And I'm just going to have to live with that. So, yeah. Looking forward to this match? No, not at all. Could it be good? Sure, any match can be good. Do I think it's going to be? No, I think it's going to be a 10-minute, filler match just as people are shuffling into their seats. Next up, we have the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Can't have a women's Battle Royal without a men's Battle Royal. Does this particular match do anything for the winner? Not really. Cesaro won one year, and it kind of really pushed him, but the dude didn't need pushing. The guy was amazing, and he's one of my favorite male athletes in this organization. And when they matched him up with Sheamus, I didn't think that tag team was going to go anywhere, and somehow they've become probably like the most entertaining tag team to watch, aside from some of the newer, younger guys who are coming up from NXT. But the bar, the winning the Battle Royal really helps Cesaro's career. Did it help Baron Corbin's career when his dumbass won a few years ago? I don't think there's anything helping his career. He's dog shit on the mic. He's dog shit in the ring. He's just dog shit. Who else has won it? I think Big Show won it one year. You gotta let the Big Show win that. He is a giant himself, and I've always loved the Big Show, especially lately. He's got himself into fantastic shape, and he looks great. He's actually someone I would love to meet, just because I think he's a tremendous athlete and competitor. Braun Strowman, I think, won it maybe last year, and he's another one. He's just a monster, and he's very, very athletic for his size. Just somebody who doesn't really need that push in his career. I think Vince has always had a hard-on for him, and he's going to start getting a big championship push, I think, once Brock Lesnar leaves. And for the most part, it's all jobbers in this match, and people who some people who sadly don't have big matches at WrestleMania. It's fucking, Braun Strowman's in it again, which is sort of weird. You figure he would have had a main match. Then you have the fucking two idiots from Saturday Night Live, Andrade, who's actually a really good wrestler, but I'm not a fan of him. Apollo Crews, Titus O'Neil, Tyler Breeze, who I loved when they teamed him up with Fandango. I don't know what fucking happened to that, but whatever. That's no longer a thing. Jinder Mahal, who I've actually been a big fan of since he returned. I thought he really got himself into shape, and he became a really great heel. And I thought he had a pretty good championship run, despite the reasonings behind it. I thought it was a great run. But his career, and as far as title hunts go, is probably over at this point. No Way Jose, which is just a cheap knockoff of Adam Rose. So his career is not going to go anywhere. You got Bobby Roode and Chad Gable, who I think are a fantastic tag team. I love that tag team. It sucks to see them stuck in this battle royal. Lucha House Party. Love the Lucha House Party guys. Those are some talented motherfuckers. Especially Kalisto, man. I love Kalisto. I love that every once in a while he gets a nice little title push. Fucking fantastic wrestlers in that group. You got Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel, the fucking B team. They're talented, but they've just never been used properly. Especially Bo Dallas. He's actually a very talented wrestler. Curtis Axel, sort of riding the coattails of his father. Maybe he's better than he really is. I don't know. Heath Slater and Rhino, another tag team I loved. It was a gimmick tag team, but they fucking worked. They worked hard, and they had a great title run. I love them. Victor and Connor, the fucking Ascension. I can't believe those fucking guys are still employed. Mustafa Ali, Shelton Benjamin, Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, Matt Hardy, Jeff Hardy, Otis, Tucker, and EC3. A couple of other really great names in this battle royal. Who do I see winning? I don't know. Honestly, I don't see Braun Strowman winning again, and could be Apollo Crews. They could do right and give a massive, long-time, hardworking veteran like Rhino, one last send off before he might ride away into the sunset soon. Love Rhino. The guy's fucking built like a goddamn tree trunk. I'd love to see that happen. I would love to see him win this. But again, it's a battle royal, and nobody really cares about these.
And I will say that I don't either. I mean, this whole thing is basically set to show off the biggest and strongest in the company in honor of Andre. And that's all well and good, but I find big and towering giants boring as hell. So skip for me. I'm going to watch the match, clearly, but I don't have any stakes in it.
Yeah, I don't think anybody does. Again, it's just more of could possibly be another one of those really first matches, and it's just a filler match as people are shuffling into their seats. Next, you got the Cruiserweight Championship, Buddy Murphy and Tony Ness. These are both great competitors. I don't have a horse in this race. It's going to be a great match. These Cruiserweight matches are always show stealers. And, again, it's going to be an early match, but it's going to be probably one of the better, more technical matches of the night. You're going to see some great high-risk stuff. And just all around, the Cruiserweights are show stealers in every sense of the word. These guys know how to perform in the ring. Next, we got the Smackdown Tag Team Championship match. The Usos, who are champions, who are rumored to be on their way out, or at least one of them. I think Jay is on his way out. Versus Ricochet, Aleister Black versus The Bar versus Rusev and Shinsuke Nakamura. All right, there's a lot of talent in this match. There's a lot of talent, and I feel like that particular talent is not going to have the room to shine. The Usos are the champions now, and I don't like their gimmick. They're really annoying. For some reason, one of them keeps getting arrested. Hopefully they lose. Who they lose to, I really don't care. Ricochet and Aleister Black are two top competitors in the ring. These guys are masters of their craft. Ain't no two ways around that. The Bar, I just talked about the Bar. I love these guys. Big fan of Cesaro. I've been a big fan of Cesaro since he came into the WWE, and I don't mind Sheamus. I loved Sheamus during his first initial run in WWE when he was kind of rapey heel Sheamus, and he ended Jamie Noble's career that one match. That was great. I love that. And then you got Rusev and Nakamura. Now, I've never been a Rusev fan, but, I celebrate Rusev Day every day. Happy Rusev Day, everybody.
At least there's one of us.
And, it's hard not to like Nakamura. Whether he's face or heel, he's entertaining. He's enigmatic and just very talented in the ring, especially for his age. Dude is like 40 years old, and he still puts on a hell of a show. So, I would be happy no matter which one of those teams wins, as long as the Usos don't come out as champs.
I'm taking Ricochet and Aleister Black simply because I followed them on the indie scene. Ricochet is probably one of the best wrestlers, athletes,
Yeah, next to Riddle and Sabre,
Yeah, he's one of the top out there, and seeing him perform live, I've seen it sitting in the front row. Now I'm going to see it at WrestleMania. It's just massive to even pretty much imagine that. But I'm really hoping that they take this. But as far as everybody else, Usos are terrible. I'm not a big fan of the Bar. Cesaro's talented. Shinsuke is unbelievable, but he's also being thrown around like a pinball machine. Like Lord knows what they are going to do with him next. And how the hell did Rusev and Shinsuke become tag team partners? It's just so odd.
I like it. I like those odd tag teams, man.
That's the thing I like about Ricochet and Aleister Black, because you wouldn't expect those two to be teaming up together, and God, do they work so well.
So, yeah, I mean, I'll be happy no matter who wins, as long as Usos don't walk out as champions. I don't like them. I don't like that entire goddamn family. I'm sick of them. They get so much goddamn FaceTime, and I'm sick of it. Next up, you got the Kurt Angle final match versus Baron Corbin. I would be a bit more invested in this match if it wasn't Baron Corbin. I don't like him. I think he sucks in ring. He sucks on mic. He sucks in life. Yet, this piece of shit has a WrestleMania match, and Asuka doesn't. That just pisses me off even more. You wanted to give Kurt Angle a proper send-off? Have him wrestle Asuka. Asuka, as weird as that might sound, Asuka is no stranger to intergender matches. She can hold her own against every man I've ever seen her in a ring with, and she's a fantastic competitor, and she works well with men. She works extremely well with men. But instead, we're getting the lame wolf fucking Baron Corbin. I got nothing but love for Kurt Angle. Dude has been in the business quite a long time. He's got a great wrestling background. I just wish that they gave him a more proper send-off than fucking Baron Corbin. He's going to look back in 10 years and be like, Baron Corbin was my last match. Fuck my life. But
I still think that's bait. I think they're going to bait and switch, and something different's going to happen.
God, I hope so.
Baron Corbin is not making it to the ring before that bell rings, and it's very likely that Kurt Angle's going to face Cena like a lot of people want, and it's been rumored for a little bit, so I think that might happen. Otherwise, this is going to be weird. Either it's going to be a terrible match, or Kurt Angle's going to bring the best out of Baron Corbin, which is also very unlikely. So, what a weird fucking match.
So moving on there. Then you have another match where I am not invested in it at all. And that's The Miz versus Shane McMahon. Falls Count Anywhere match. Shane McMahon has been a staple at the last couple of WrestleManias. So he put on good matches. They're entertaining. They're not technical. They're more shock value matches because he always does something crazy. And that's great. Fans love seeing that kind of stuff. I just don't care about this match. I really fucking don't. Again, this is another match filling up a bloated card as it is. And again, I'm going to mention this quite often, a card that does not feature a solo match with Asuka. So see The Miz and Shane McMahon. Now, The Miz is great. I love The Miz. I'm actually not a fan of The Miz, but I respect the fuck out of The Miz because he's a hard as hell worker. He's great on the mic. He's had some great matches. Shane McMahon, same. Guy works his ass off. Great on the mic. And he fucking puts his body on the line every match he's in. Great stuff. Do I care about seeing him at this in WrestleMania? No. No. This will be a pee break match for me.
Man, Shane McMahon matches are all so predictable. They were really exciting back in the day because you would never expect him to do what he does. They got even more exciting when he came back in his older age, and you never expected him to do what he did at that age. Now it's just like, like when you see something like that too much, you're desensitized to it. So you're just sitting there watching the movie or match rather. You're watching the match and you're just like, here it comes. He's going to do the coast to coast, or he's going to dive off of something, or, I think I would be more surprised if he didn't do something like that and actually just wrestled the match. So I'm not overly invested in it, but I'm sure it's going to have a lot of moments in it that kind of take the air out of the arena.
Yeah, you want to get me invested in a Shane McMahon match? Put him up against fucking Sabu. Then you got my interest. Until then, fuck off with this shit.
I like it.
Next up, we got the Women's Tag Team Championship match. Sasha Banks and Bayley, the current champions, versus Beth Phoenix and Natalya, Nia Jax and Snuka, and the Iconics. Yeah. Now, I am not a fan of Nia Jax and Snuka. Again, they're part of that Uso family, and I don't care about that family. There's like 6,000 of them in the WWE. I'm sick of them. Fucking sick of them. Are some of them talented? Yeah, maybe a little bit. But for the most part, they're almost all garbage on the mics. And their in-ring capabilities. Usos are pretty good in-ring. I can't say they're not. They are pretty good in-ring. But their mic skills, I think, is very cliche and just blah. And then the rest of their family just suck on the mic and typically suck in ring as well. The Iconics, I never really got into them, so I don't really care about them. I've always liked Natalya, and Beth Phoenix is one of my all-time favorite women wrestlers. So actually finally being able to see her in a match, after her retirement. That's got me really excited. So this is a match I'm going to watch. Now, I don't expect Beth Phoenix and Natalya to win. That would be awesome to see one of my favorite wrestlers walk out with a belt around her waist in her retirement, nonetheless. But I'm not expecting that. I do expect Snuka or the Iconics to come out on top on this one.
I think that Bayley and Sasha Banks are going to keep it, to be perfectly honest. I think they're really photo at the end. I think they're really going to have that moment to close out the show. And seeing Bayley and Sasha come up through NXT and, just watching their career blossom over the years, I don't know. I'm sentimental. I kind of want that too. So I'm looking forward to possibly seeing them retain their titles.
Well, obviously they could retain, but I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing my girl Beth Phoenix walk out with the belt around her waist. Not expecting it, but hoping. Then we have the United States Championship match. Samoa Joe is the current champion versus Rey Mysterio. Now, Rey Mysterio matches are hit or miss. His current run, he has gotten himself in amazing shape. But it looks like he injured his ankle last week on Smackdown. So this match is actually up in the air. If it does happen, if he's cleared and good to go, this will be a match I will be watching, just because I've seen how well Mysterio has been performing lately, and he's always fun to watch in the ring. Even at his age, he's in great shape now. He used to have quite a cerveza belly, but he knocked that shit down, man. I gotta say, he killed that shit, and he looks great in this current run. So, a match I'm looking forward to if it goes through.
I've always been a Mysterio fan, but throughout his run in WWE, it kind of got to that point where his matches are very formulaic. You see one, you kind of see them all. In Wrestlemania, though, he tends to really pull off some shit that you don't normally expect out of him, or he switches things up just enough to really make a match special. And Samoa Joe is by far one of the most consistent wrestlers out there and has been for years. So I expect these two to make magic together. So it's going to be definitely a good match if it ends up happening.
Yep, agreed. Intercontinental match. Bobby Lashley versus Finn Balor. I care nothing for either one of these wrestlers. This will be another pee break for me.
Alrighty.
That's it. That's all I got to say about this one. I could care less about this match.
Lashley, I used to like a lot, but he is. I don't see the point in this match. Like, I get what happened. I understand the story, and it's just such a weird matchup for the most part. Obviously, however, it's been heavily rumored, or maybe even confirmed by now, that Finn will be coming out as the Demon, which is always something that's, like always a spectacle to see live. So I'm very excited to see that. I just wish he was facing somebody more interesting, or somebody that could go toe-to-toe with him. Put him against Nakamura. That would have been a better match. Put him against, I don't know, somebody else that doesn't have a match at WrestleMania this year, like, I don't know, Undertaker, maybe, something like that. But I'm a big Finn Balor fan, so pulling for him to take that one.
Yeah, don't care. The Demon, don't care. It was a fun gimmick in the beginning, and now it's like, all right, so he's wearing some face paint and a stupid hat. That's great.
You're just so jolly.
I bought into the hype when he first came in, and then I watched a lot of his matches, and I don't know. I don't really get it. Next up, we got the Triple H versus Batista no holds barred Triple H's career on the line match. Now, Triple H and Batista haven't really ever been known as the best in-ring performers. These guys are big, they're muscle bound, and sometimes they work stiff. So this could be more of a brutal ground and pound sort of match with some some good outside of the ring spots and stuff like that. But I'm not expecting a fucking balls to the wall type of match. Mainly because Batista has a very lucrative film career right now. I mean, dude is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe as quite a beloved character, might I add. So he's not going to do anything to really jeopardize his film career too much. You might see one or two high-risk spots, but nothing crazy. Is the match going to be entertaining? They're both probably going to have, or at least Triple H is going to have one, like a ridiculous entrance. He always does. It's fucking way over the top. And I think it will be overly an okay match to watch. But it's not going to be a show stealer. But I am looking forward to it because in all my years of wrestling, I don't go to many wrestling events. So I've actually never seen Batista live. And as a big, Guardians of the Galaxy fan, and I love his character. I love the way he plays Drax. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing him live. So this is a match I am looking forward to.
All right, so the stipulation is Triple H's career is over as a wrestler, right?
If he loses this match, his career is over.
What a better way to end the career than against somebody that he really respects and is good friends with. And right after being inducted into the Hall of Fame via DX. I just think that's how it's going down this weekend. And I think that might be a very fun match to watch. I don't know if it's going to be a great match to watch. Definitely might be a little bit on the brutal side. But I have a feeling we're going to have one of those Shawn Michaels Undertaker moments, and it's going to be memorable, I think.
Well, I mean, those Shawn Michael Undertaker matches were fucking amazing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Those matches were like, I don't think anybody expected those matches to be as good as they were. They had no right being as good as they were. They were amazing matches. Some of my all-time favorite matches.
Agreed.
Next up, we have another feud match that I don't care about. AJ Styles versus Randy Orton. You can't have a WrestleMania without a dumb fucking Randy Orton feud match. Fuck me.
I echo that, but I do like AJ Styles. I
love
him live.
I love AJ Styles, and seeing him live will be great. And Randy Orton, he can put on good matches. He's always kept himself in shape. He rarely ever botches. He hits some of the most ridiculous RKOs you've ever seen. So this honestly could be a good match. These are two good in-ring competitors. AJ Styles obviously being the far better in-ring competitor, but Randy knows how to carry himself in a match. He's been doing this a very long time, and he's always been very consistent. But that doesn't take away from the fact that nobody cares about this feud. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next up. Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre. Another dumb fucking feud match. Now WrestleMania is always filled with feud matches. Some of them you get invested in. Some of them you don't give two shits about. AJ Styles, Randy Orton, don't give two shits about. Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre, who I love, by the way. Drew McIntyre, not Roman Reigns. Fucking hate Roman Reigns. Don't give two shits about this match. Fucking don't care. Absolutely don't care. Am I happy Roman Reigns is leukemia free and healthy and back in the WWE? I'm happy he's healthy. I'm happy he's safe and he's in good health again. Seeing him back, I don't care. I don't like him. I'm not gonna sit here and cheer for a guy because he beat obviously a very serious illness. That I will give the guy all the props in the world and all the respect in the world for that. But that doesn't mean I'm automatically gonna change my opinion on him and what he does in the ring and on the microphone. Guy's still dog shit in my opinion. I don't like it. He's big dog shit. He's the big dog. He's big dog shit. That's what he is. So I'm not invested in this match. Hopefully Drew McIntyre just stomps the fuck out of him.
I really like Drew McIntyre, and I guess it's going to be change of pace to see Roman Reigns not get booed for once or booed out of the stadium.
No, listen, this is New Jersey. New Jersey does not like Roman Reigns.
Very good point.
MetLife could be on fire. And that's a bad fire.
I guess I'll have to hold my tongue till I witness it in person. But yeah, I echo what you say. Good on him. I'm not a big fan of the dude. Maybe he'll have the same effect that John Cena did over the years, where he went from being massively booed to not really booed to, all right, we accept him finally after 15 years. But right this second, I'm just, he's not for me. So I'm more into checking Drew McIntyre's performance out.
Indeed. Marquee match here, WWE Championship. Daniel Bryan versus Kofi Kingston. This is a match for the ages. Two amazing in-ring competitors getting a main event title match at WrestleMania. Kofi Kingston has long been overlooked. He's had a great run with New Day, multiple tag team title runs with the group, but he has never been allowed to shine as a solo competitor, and this is it. He earned this spot. He earned it hard over the last few months. The fans wanted it. The fans made sure that Vince knew that they wanted it, and he got it. This match could be the match of the night. This match could steal the show, easily could steal the show, and I'm easily going to say it is going to steal the show. These guys know what's on the line. Bryan knows what's on the line. Kingston knows what's on the line. You know, this is Daniel Bryan returning to WrestleMania as champion. He's gonna fucking go all out. Kingston, this is his championship match at WrestleMania. The first time he's ever had something like that. If you don't think this kid is gonna put everything, his body, his soul on the line on this match, you fucking don't know what kind of a worker Kofi Kingston is. This is a match to watch. Do not miss this match, fucking guys. This is the match of the night. I'm calling it now.
Ditto.
All right. Universal Championship match. Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to explain this match. There's going to be, I don't know, 15 German suplexes, 6 or 7 F5s, and a couple of curb stomps from Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins ends up winning, maybe on some bullshit, maybe on a low blow. I don't know. But Brock Lesnar's not walking out as champion. This match is going to be just finisher after finisher after finisher. It's going to be slow. It's going to be boring. It's going to be your typical Brock Lesnar match.
I'm hoping it's a little more than a typical Brock Lesnar match for the simple fact that I've seen a Brock Lesnar encounter make me a believer again, and that's when he basically beat the living shit out of John Cena that one time where he just pummeled his face in. This whole... Hey, I'm Brock. Hey, I'm going to do a bunch of F5s. Hey, I'm going to do a bunch of German suplexes. That got old really fast. It is the fast-paced nature of it really makes for an exciting scenario, but it's very predictable. If he goes in there and just straight pummels Seth Rollins and kind of just really, really makes something out of it, and then seeing Seth, pull through and get the upset win, maybe not even considered an upset because I think everybody's expecting him to lose the title. I think it'll be exciting to see, but you never know when it comes to Brock and everything because it plays out usually either one way or some way exciting very rarely. So hopefully this is one of those situations better than we're anticipating.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll see. I'm not expecting much from this match. But we'll see. Maybe we can get surprised. I don't know. So before we get into the final main event match, you might have noticed that if you're a wrestling fan, there is no Undertaker on this card. Now, is it possible Undertaker shows up? Very possible. WrestleMania is his event. It's possible he's in a mystery match that they're just gonna squeeze in and surprise everybody with. Very, very possible. Nothing else to really say about that. He could wrestle anyone at any time at WrestleMania. But as of right now, there are no obviously confirmed reports from backstage. But from what I've read, it's saying some of the people are saying just don't count him out until the show is over. So we'll see what happens with Taker.
I think at this point, there's a good chance that we might see a setup for maybe next year or the Saudi Arabia show that he's apparently on.
Yeah, he's working that.
Hopefully it's a setup for next year because I would like to see something happen. It doesn't feel like WrestleMania without Undertaker, and I know that's going to be a pill that we're going to have to swallow one day, but I am not ready to, especially at the WrestleMania that I am attending. For the first time, mind you. But it is what it is. What are you gonna do? I'm hoping that he makes some sort of appearance.
So the main event, first time ever at a WrestleMania, is a women's championship main event. Charlotte Flair, who is the SmackDown Women's Champion, versus Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey, who is the Raw Women's Champion, in a winner-take-all match. Obviously, we know Ronda Rousey's not winning because she's on her way out because I think she wants to have a kid. So she's on her way out of the WWE for the time being. And rumors are that Becky Lynch is walking away with this one. I don't give two shits. I've lost all interest in this match after Asuka got buried. Just to make this match bigger. It didn't need to be bigger. It was big enough as it was. So burying Asuka, really, all it did was piss most fans off. So all interest that I had in this match has gone completely out the window. I don't like Ronda Rousey. I think she's boring as fuck. She has zero mic skills, and her in-ring capabilities are mediocre at best, and I am being generous there. Charlotte Flair, I do not like. I have never liked Charlotte Flair. I've never liked Ric Flair. Is Charlotte Flair a good competitor? She is. I just don't like her style and her gimmick and how entitled she fucking is, because anyone who says differently obviously are fucking blinded by their fandom for her, and that's fine. You know, you're a fan of her, you don't see that she's an entitled fucking twat, that's fine. But she is. She gets handed a lot of fucking opportunities, and it's most likely because of backstage shit and the pull her father has. I like Becky Lynch. Honestly, I do hope she wins. Walks out with both titles. Fuck you to Rousey. Fuck you to Flair. But at the end of the day, I still don't care. What they did to Asuka really just ruined this match for me. Sadly, I won't be able to walk out and leave early because I will be at the show with my buddy. And so I'm just going to have to sit through this one and man up.
That you are. I'm not as invested in the whole Asuka situation. I think it's really fucked up that she was done that way. I still think there's a good chance that she might win the Battle Royal, possibly to apologize for burying her. Maybe even a situation where she demands to be put into the main event. I think that would make for a very interesting situation and something that might be a little more satisfying to the Asuka fans who feel cheated at this point. We'll see what happens. I think Becky Lynch is walking out. It's been set up way too perfectly for them to pull a swerve off, and I really don't see them ending on a heel win. I think it would be really, really short-sighted if it did. I'm just excited to see an all-women's, main event. It's going to be special. It's going to mark a first time for the company for WrestleMania. So it's going to be really cool to be at it, personally. Again, I'm not really too crazy on the whole Asuka situation, but it is what it is. I'm looking forward to the moment. It's going to be better than the whole Brock Seth Rollins thing. So I'm excited that that's closing the show.
See how this goes. So we are looking forward to the event. As long as the weather really holds out. Right now they are calling for rain on Sunday, which is not good for us, not good for me. But we are planning to do a fun tailgate. If that happens, weather holds out on us, I'll probably do 1 or 2 live streams while we're tailgating from the MetLife Stadium parking lot. That'll be kind of cool. And I think we've said enough, talked enough wrestling nonsense tonight. And we're going to go ahead. We're going to wrap it up. We went way longer than I thought we were. But, that's just what happens when you're fucking talking about, shit you're into. Your passions. Horror conventions, wrestling. We love this shit. Fucking time just fucking flies, man. You don't even notice. I look over. It's like, oh, my God. We're 2 hours, 15 minutes into this shit. Our normal episodes don't go this fucking long. And we only had we only had fucking 2 topics tonight. But, you know what? It was fun. We talked about wrestling, something we never do here. And it's not something we're going to do very often. We're going to do one more post-WrestleMania recap. And then we probably won't do any more wrestling talk, maybe until next WrestleMania. I think WrestleMania is it's a big enough event where it's something we can talk about for 2 weeks. The week leading up to it, like we're doing now, and then the week after. I think this show is flexible enough where we can do 2 wrestling shows a year.
I agree.
But anyway, guys, I want to thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. I hope you enjoyed our NJ HorrorCon recap and our WrestleMania talk. Even if you are not a wrestling fan, it is still kind of cool to hear a little bit about it. It is one of the biggest events of the year all over the world. And we get to be a part of it. And that is pretty fucking cool in my book. And we want to share it with you guys as much as we can. So thank you guys so much. Make sure you hit that like button, you hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell. Follow us on Twitter, Bates_MotelMT @Ray Mungus. Sorry, I got the hiccups. Make sure you also follow the site, Twitter @DeadEndSite. You can also check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/DeadEntertainment. We got a couple more cool pieces from NJ HorrorCon going up, including the full Saturday Night Mick Garris panel. That should be up in the next day or two. And then we have the bulk of Ari Liam's band, First Jason, their mini concert that they performed Saturday night at the convention. Now, their sound setup wasn't very good, and where they played, the acoustics sounded like shit. So the recording isn't optimal, but it is more than tolerable. And get an idea of what they sound like live. If you've ever listened to them or interested in seeing what the kid who played Jason in the first Friday the 13th movie is doing with his life right now. He's playing guitar in a rock band. So keep an eye out for those videos right here on this channel. We will see you guys next week with, we'll probably do a little bit of horror news and then a WrestleMania recap. And yeah, you got anything, man?
Nope, I'm good. See you next week.
All right, guys, thank you so much. Make sure you subscribe, like, and remember.
What do you think this is all about? You think this is a fucking costume? This is a way of life.